Greetings, collectors. This is the Eternian Jedi with an action figure review. Today I'm going to be looking at the Masters of the Universe Classics 7-inch He-Man action figure. This is a figure that was released as a part of the Motu Classics line, one of the most expansive action figure lines ever made. These were highly detailed, action figures based on the vintage He-Man Masters of the Universe toy line. And of course, this is the most powerful man in the universe, an incredible figure that came out in 2008. You guys probably know the story behind Motu Classics, a truly legendary toy line, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be doing a review on the He-Man. So this is the second release for this figure because you can see the original sticker right here. The first release was slightly different. He had some red around his eyes, which a lot of collectors didn't like. And then he had, I believe, a few issues around the triceps. Matty Collector did fix that for us with the second issue for He-Man. So this is a figure I've already opened up, as you can probably tell, but I did want to put him back in the packaging so you guys can see him, because he just looks incredible in the box. And I gotta say, nothing replaces the classic blister card packaging of the original vintage Motu figures. But I feel like Matty Collector did an incredible job with the packaging for classics. It's become very iconic with the Castle Grayskull, walls, I suppose. It's just awesome, and the lightning bolts, like, I just love it. I think there's something incredible about it. So you've got your Motu logo up here, a very nice background once again. Adult Collector, He-Man. Again, just love the packaging. I do understand some complaints people have. Some people say that the packaging was too small given the size of the figure. As you can tell, He-Man is crouching in there. Very weird position, by the way. And I can understand that complaint. For some figures, it can be problematic. As you guys will see when I do a review of the Motu Classics Skeletor coming very soon. But yeah, still, I love this packaging. Flipping him around, you can see some of the other figures available. So these were the figures available when the second release or reissue for He-Man was released. We've got King Grayskull, awesome figure, would love to get him. Skeletor, the evil lord of destruction. I always love it when they give you those little names. And heroic ancestor of He-Man for King Grayskull. Stratos, winged warrior. Merman, ocean warlord. And Beastman, savage henchman. Really nice how they did this with the scroll, which gives you a little biography for He-Man here. Real name, Adam of the House of Randor. So obviously you guys know the backstory with Prince Adam or He-Man. But yeah, again, I just can't get over how much I love the packaging, which is why I decided to put him back in the box for the sake of this review. But enough said, let's crack him open once again, and I'll show you the figure in more detail. And here is the Motu Classics He-Man out of the packaging. What can I say? This is an incredible figure, definitely one of my favorites in my collection. It does such a great job of giving us a highly detailed action figure, but at the same time keeping the elements which made the vintage He-Man such a special action figure. So let's start off by looking at the accessories. So you get a total of 4 accessories. If you want to count the harness, that's 5, because the harness is removable. So let me just stand He-Man over here. So he comes with his shield, of course, which looks very nice. And no, there is no cardboard inside like the vintage figure. This is fully plastic, which I do think is better. But that does look very nice. We have 1/2 of the power sword. I'm going to start with that one. So obviously, the idea is you're meant to get the Skeletor figure, just like the vintage toys, to connect or to put together both halves of the power sword to unlock the gate of Castle Grayskull. Very nice. And of course, they do give us the full sword, which I do appreciate. Just look at it. It's beautiful. Very nice power sword. A bit shiny as well. It looks awesome. And it's very easy for He-Man to hold it. His hand is really well molded, so you don't have to worry about the accessory falling out. It's very tight in there, which I do like. And for the shield, all you have to do is clip it on his wrist. So there you go. And the last accessory is his double-sided axe. Very, very nice. Look at this. And of course, you can just slide it down here on the back of his harness. So you've got a fully armed He-Man ready for battle, ready to ride Battle Cat and to face the evil Skeletor. So as I just mentioned, you can remove the harness if you'd like. You just have to remove this piece and then slide it off the arms. Obviously, I do prefer keeping the harness on, but for customization, that is definitely a nice feature. So let's look at some of the details on this figure. This is a really, really nicely painted figure. You may be able to see it on camera. In person, it doesn't look as bad. Some of the, skin colors don't really match up especially between the head and the torso. I think it's something you can see on camera, but honestly, it doesn't bother me. Just something I figured I'd point out. But at the same time, you do have sort of like reddish brown paint shading going on. It's almost an orange. I think it looks really good, actually. It helps the figure pop a bit. You can sort of see it on the thigh here. And on the arms, not so much on the chest, but yeah, just looks really good. And I gotta say, I love the head sculpt. Now, of course, this is not meant to look like the vintage head sculpt. Here's the newly released Motu Origins. I do not have a vintage He-Man to show you guys, but we'll do a comparison a bit later, but you can see the difference right now. Yeah, so this is a completely new take, I guess, on Prince Adam or He-Man, and I think it looks really good. I gotta say, I really like it. The haircut is good, the expression is good. He doesn't look weird or anything. I think they did a very good job, especially back in the day. I mean, 2008, they gave us such a nice looking head sculpt. The hair is really well painted. I think the length is good, really well sculpted as well. And of course, his iconic cross. Look at that, that is very nice. Overall, the paint work is extremely clean, I have to admit. I mean, on most versions of this figure I've seen, or most copies, I should say. And, I mean, one of the things I love most about the Matty Collector sculpt is the musculature. They did such an incredible job, especially from the front. If you look at it, from this side, just look at that. I mean, it really captures the swords and sorcery, Conan the Barbarian, super buffed hero. They just did an incredible job. I mean, I can't get over how good it looks. And for his forearms, he does have these, or on this side, he's got a bigger piece, which obviously is meant to, I'm assuming, to protect his skin from the shield. But that's nothing new. We expected that as per the design of He-Man. And then, of course, the loincloth looks excellent. Very, very nice, with a bit of black. So a bit of black shading. Very nice. Add some detail. Again, musculature is just incredible. They did an amazing job. Just look at that. That looks amazing. And his furry boots look very nice as well. So yeah, I mean, obviously you look at him, he's quite a simple figure, compared to other figures they've made. Obviously not the most detailed, but I mean, I don't really see what they could have done more. This is just everything. He has all the details a He-Man figure would need. Again, just a really, really cool figure to look at, very eye-catching. So yeah, now let's take a look at the articulation. So the articulation is very good on these figures. So the head can look back and forth. It's on a ball joint, so there is no hinge, but I'm very pleased with the movement. I'd say I'm satisfied, it's good enough. The arms move out really well. You get very good movement there. You can turn them around. Good movement at the bicep. Single jointed elbow there. I know people don't like that, but honestly, I know the articulation, especially, when you compare it to today's standards, can seem very limited, but I feel like it's sufficient. I'm definitely a believer in the idea that too much articulation can mess with the proportions of an action figure, and this is an excellent example of that. If they had given us more articulation, I don't think the figure would have looked as good. So honestly, I don't mind. I don't think that's a deal breaker. You can move the hand around like so. Oh, and I did forget to mention, I like the vein details on the hands. That looks very good. But anyways, continuing here, you've got good movement in the abs, as you can see. You can turn the waist side to side. The legs have excellent movement as well. You can kick them out really far, go back and forth. So, you definitely get some good movement for the legs. Single bend at the knee, which I think is sufficient. So there you go. And then you can swivel the boot down here and hinge the feet back and forth. Now, of course, the complaint I have with this figure that a lot of people have are the very loose hinges at the feet. You can see mine's okay, actually. I've seen a lot worse, especially on this side. It's actually quite tight. But they need to be super tight because you can see how he's sort of rocking back and forth. And this is a heavy figure. I mean, again, the quality on these figures cannot be stressed enough. They're not made of hollow plastic. This is really, really good quality plastic. So obviously there's a lot of weight on those, and there's a lot of stress as well on those hinges. So yeah, I mean, that is something quite frustrating. I have to admit he's fallen off my shelf a few times, which is always very stressful. But again, it's not a deal breaker. If you're going to balance out the good and bad things, the good obviously outweighs the bad. Just an incredible figure. And again, I'm very pleased with the articulation. Right, so now it's time for some comparisons. So right now, the main Masters of the Universe toy line is the Origins line, which I'm having a lot of fun collecting. You can see the difference between these two figures in quality, and especially for what they were going for. Obviously, the colors on the classics are a lot darker, a lot more detailed, whereas the Origins has a lot more simple colors and brighter colors. Obviously, when it comes down to which one is better, it's going to have to be the Classics one, but I think they each serve their purpose. The Classics He-Man is definitely more of a display piece. That being said, I do really enjoy posing him, whereas the Origins figure is definitely more for play. So they each serve their purpose. That's what I'm going to say, but it is nice to compare these two and see the differences. And I figured I'd bring out my DC Universe Classics Superman figure from the Calabac wave. This is the mullet Superman from the Death of Superman comic books. So yeah, I mean, you can see the scale is pretty similar, actually. I'd say the He-Man figure is a lot bulkier, or at least in general, the Motu Classics are bulkier than the DC Universe Classics body molds, but they still scale really nicely. And of course, we did have some Toys R Us 2-packs, which were awesome. He-Man versus Superman, Green Lantern versus Zodak, Merman versus Aquaman. Just a really good concept. They did do a He-Man versus Superman 2-pack, which I do not own, but this is good enough. I'm still happy with this. Again, I just really like looking at these two together. Obviously, both Mattel figures, so it makes sense to compare them. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review of the Masters of the Universe Classics He-Man action figure. Really enjoyed sharing this figure with you guys. If you can find this figure for a good price, it is absolutely worth it. Now, keep in mind, this is quite a rare figure. He goes for quite a bit of money. I was lucky I got mine brand new in box for only $80, but loose he can go for about $100, and brand new in box $150 and upwards. You have to be lucky. You have to look at the right time and find the right price, but again, definitely worth it in my opinion. It is crazy to think that back in the day they only cost $25, but that was over 15 years ago now, so times change. But again, really good figure. highly recommend him. Again, one of my favorites in my collection. But if you enjoyed this review, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I have more action figure reviews on the way, and I'll see you all very soon.